judges are ready then? All right, then I will go ahead and get started. You know, now that I think about it, this ukulele and the song I was playing don't actually have anything to do with what I'll be talking about today. So chances are that you're probably wondering then why on earth I brought it here, right? The answer is quite simply because I wanted to. Now, it's very likely that you're starting to be confused with me as to why I chose such a seemingly ridiculous reason to bring my beloved instrument into a speech round with me, let alone a speech round at the Tournament of Champions. But I'm not going to let anything like that dishearten me, because I've made a promise to myself that I would learn how to play this instrument all the time, and that's fully what I intend to do. I admit that that sounds really cliche, and I'll also admit that learning to play such a mediocre instrument as a ukulele isn't all that incredible. So I feel that the reason why it's so satisfying is simply because I'm fulfilling that commitment that I made to myself. Everyone has some sort of a goal or a dream, but hardly ever do they truly commit to it. For whatever reason, they'll say they're not worthy enough for their goal, and so they'll fabricate whatever number of excuses are necessary so that they don't have to commit to themselves. But today, I hope to motivate you to embrace self-commitment and go forth to accomplish your goals without hesitation or remorse. First, we'll define what self-commitment is and isn't. Then we'll look at the best ways to overcome any obstacles that may face you before finally evaluating how and why you should actually follow through with your promise. So first, what on earth is a self-commitment, and how is it different from just trying to do something? The answer, while very simple, is also very crucial. Trying is different from committing because it leaves you a way out. Let's be honest, whenever you say, "Oh sure, I'll try," that's not really a yes or a no. By definition, all that's required for you to try is minimal effort. Whereas with committing, it's the exact opposite. In fact, something that I find very interesting is how the word is defined. If you were to look up commitment in the dictionary, you'd read an engagement or obligation that restricts freedom of action. And that last phrase, that restricts freedom of action, may seem somewhat daunting, but I assure you that it's actually a great thing. It means that because you are so fully dedicated and so thoroughly engaged in your promise, you cannot act in such a way that would harm whatever your end goal may be. So yes, making a promise of such great magnitudes may be a little intimidating at times. But please, I would beg of you not to simply pass through life without ever accomplishing anything. Because so often, especially in communities such as this one, you see adults who don't have any end goals, nothing that they're striving to achieve. Or you see parents who are simply living through the activities of their children. But I would ask you to find something that you enjoy and that you personally love to participate in and put forth the effort to be successful in it. Because I can guarantee you from firsthand experience that when you fulfill and complete your self-commitment, you will be satisfied and happy. And if you're not, you can hunt me down and I will accept full responsibility for it. And I'm willing to put that burden on myself because, like I said before, the results will be worth it. But at the same time, we need to cover both spectrums of this issue, because perhaps you're sitting there and wondering, it can't be that simple. And the truth is, it's not. So let's go onwards to address the ways that you can overcome any sort of obstacles or barriers that you may come into contact with. Many times when friends or family see their loved one putting forth time, energy, and sometimes money, and perhaps something even greater for their commitment, they judge them for it. But in those times, don't let them dishearten you. In fact, keep in mind the words of Eleanor Roosevelt when she stated that no one can make you feel inferior without your own consent. The world very well may put barriers or obstacles in your path, but anyone can overcome them. Let's say your goal is to start living a healthier lifestyle, and you find yourself at a party that's filled with tempting and unhealthy food. Or perhaps your goal is to save up money for something, and yet your boss cuts your hours at work. Or alternatively, you want to go back to college and get a degree, and you simply can't afford the prices of the local university. But anyone can overcome these obstacles. In fact, one of my favorite quotations comes from author Jeffrey Gitomer when he stated that obstacles can't stop you. Problems can't stop you. Most of all, other people can't stop you. Only you can stop you. These words are so true, and yet so few people really understand them. Instead, they'll just stand back and say, oh, I don't have time, I tried that before, I have a job, I have kids, I just don't care, etc., etc. But don't fabricate excuses for yourself, because you are worthy of happiness, and you're worthy of enjoying what you're doing with your pastimes. So put forth the effort to be successful in whatever you enjoy. But maybe you're not convinced. Perhaps you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, Abigail, I'm pretty content with where my life is right now, and I don't feel any urgent need to change anything about it. Well, if that's the boat that you're in, allow me to move on to finally address how and why you should actually follow through with your promise. Let's look at some statistics. In 2008, a national poll concluded that 84% of Americans were happy, whereas a 2013 poll of the same scale said that only 33% were happy. Why such a drastic change in happiness over the short time span of just 5 years? Well, we can just look out the window to see that the economy has been suffering, employment has been down, and just plain bad decisions have been made. But the problem is that people are sitting back and allowing for it to affect their personal lives. The problem is that only 33% of Americans can claim genuine happiness with what they're doing, and yet 80% claim to be, and I quote, content enough with where their life is right now. But I would ask you not to just be content enough, but rather go against the statistics and be a part of the minority of Americans that can genuinely say they're happy with what they're doing with their time. You are worthy of being happy, not just content enough. So find something that you love and go for it. Don't stand back and make excuses for yourself. In conclusion of my presentation today, I want to leave you with the words of British author Diane Satterfield, because I believe she truly summarized it best when she stated, "As for you, you are alive, but it's not quite the same thing as living." So, in conclusion, we've accepted that everyone has some sort of a goal or a dream, but hardly ever do they truly commit to it. But when people judge you, if they do, stand up and be proud that you're willing to commit to yourself and your own happiness. My friends and family like to say that my self-commitment is silly or a waste of time, but I'm not going to let them dishearten me. And speaking of my commitment, I think it's about time that I kept going and working on it. So thank you very much for listening today.